Very much for joining me, fellow Scorpio. Polina here, just explaining a little bit 2021 and how to connect the dots and how to contain yourself. So my main sort of connection here is trying to find the psychological and sociological links and trying to understand how to work this brand new world that we're in and what to do now, basically how to organize or how to get your head around things. There's not a lot to do now, okay? So for a Scorpio, at the end of 2020, already by November's end, it was kind of obvious that there's some things that you had to wipe your hands off and you just didn't need to touch anymore. So there was maybe a search, there was maybe some trouble, there was a person, there was a relationship, there was a way of life, a religion, or a spiritual experience, or spiritual path of evolution that you just did not have to participate with anymore. So that person now said goodbye. Maybe that collective is now no longer hearing you. Maybe there's no more words to say. So this is when we really have to listen to our hearts, because out of all of this, sometimes a Scorpio can get very big, tough, and very evolved in a sense, but also very uncomfortable for other people and itself. So sometimes when you knew this whole time something was coming to an end, and it finally did, it finally crumbled, finally crashed fully. Sometimes some of you guys might get very powerful feelings, and sometimes, people go on a bender here, people get very, very mistaken by something else. It can be carried into a very frivolous spending spree, or like just an adventure that you don't need to have. So when it all comes down and when you understand that there is a new beginning, or there is a new fruiting of something completely different, and all your efforts have been wrong, or that you've been wronged by other people, another person, sometimes Scorpios can either go down for a while, or they can feel very wronged, and some of us can really spin out. Now the main thing is to hold our stuff together, hold your things together, and not let yourself leave the good vibe. Some of the time also a Scorpio can be very confusing and confronting, because they might go full throttle into something new, or they might become very, very passionate or emotional or explosive about something else that doesn't actually hold anything for them. So this is when Scorpio could spend a lot of money. This is where Scorpio runs away with a new person. This is when Scorpio buys a house by mistake. This is when Scorpio loses themselves, and a lot of loss on a financial and physical and practical spectrum is likely if you're one of those people that goes on a bender, or that kind of self-betrays should there be a corruption or a end of mission. There doesn't need to be anything anymore. So if you are already there, please try to hold your horses, especially since it's holiday season, and a lot of people probably already spent a lot, and many people also like to do that sometimes. Like there's a martyr that comes out of us sometimes in the weirdest of times, and it could be even Christmas. So that's the thing. So I'm kind of like feeling any kind of feeling of being betrayed, or understanding that things were gonna like open and close, or like seeing something go down, like seeing the ship go down. All of that stuff has to be all right and appropriate now. So for a Scorpion, one of the biggest and the best dreams by far at this point is to give up on all that wanting, give up on all that trying, and try to feel smooth. If you can imagine you're like lying on a surface of water, and the water is supporting you, and you're just floating through, try to make it like that, and be okay that you have no idea. If you have no idea why you were at all in a story in the first place, say like, I have no idea what it was that possessed me in that story. Or if you, for example, have no idea where to go now, like I had all my eggs in that basket, I was fully holding out for this to happen, and it didn't, and now I feel very betrayed or very, very stupid. But the main thing is not to feel the bad feeling. The main thing is to say, I have no idea. I have actually no idea what has sucked me into this vortex, what has sucked me out, why things went this way. I have no idea why that happened or this happened. Right at this point, I really don't know why. And the best thing to do is, if you want to get yourself a flotation device, and just float in a pool, just leave it behind, leave it at that, ... And some of it doesn't really need any more elaboration. Sometimes there's certain times when a dream can come to a closure, and all it leaves behind is like maybe a sour feeling in your mouth. sour taste in your mouth, and that's it. Or it's just like dot, 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 and there's no other space or no other hope that is open. Now, the biggest mistake that sometimes a Scorpio can make at this point, if you are experiencing a certain type of segregation or separation from the previous worldview or previous desire or previous design, previous dream, if there is any kind of quiet quantum space there, the main mistake that a Scorpio now can commit fully is become open to something bad. So that's when you see, all right, well, I'm just going to go and do this for no reason. I'm just going to go fall in love with this person. I'm going to just dig my whole heart and soul into this. Try to not choose. You can just do better, you know, and sometimes there might be an unusual person or a very unusual reality that catches you by surprise, and sometimes that's not it, and that's not it, and that's not it. This home is not it, that person's not it, that job, that opportunity is not it, but it will be. So the thing is like to allow even the awkwardest moments, the awkward ways of the world to give you back something. You know, sometimes after a very strong emotional spiritual relationship, you might be caught by a very young person that just doesn't even know anything. And sure, you know, you don't have to dig your claws into anything here. Just make it okay that it hurts sometimes, you know, from what you've come into this. And maybe sometimes the story that you're coming into next is completely out of context or offbeat, but there are thousands of ways in which it can support you and evolve you and improve who you are. So make sure you don't feel blissed also for bad reasons. You know, sometimes people feel a lot of hardcore bliss when there's actually nobody and nothing there. So try to narrow things down to a state of absolute grace and simplicity, and let other people also be there. You know, sometimes a Scorpio doesn't understand why people around them are not crying or feeling or knowing or emotionally evolving, they feel, or maturing. And sometimes, you know, you just got to allow it. Like some people around you right now might be very quiet, or they might be very, if you're a lucky Scorpio like me, there might be a very stable force that is working with you at this point, or at this moment there might be not really that much energy or trauma or trouble or essence or lack or love. They just might not be that much there at all. And the thing here is basically not to become that joyful person seemingly who really wants to fight or that wants to express emotions with other people that might not be entirely within a sense of worth. And it also might be a better thing to do right now is to connect to just the wisest, most peaceful things, like for example eating a meal together, you know, walking along, going to the park, going to the countryside, going to a village, having a home, watching TV, like knitting a pair of socks. It might not be all that you want to do, of course, obviously. It might not be exactly enough to sustain you at the end of as 2020 ends, but it might be the only type of dream weaving that you can really do that will not cause any kind of harm later on in the coming tides. Now, the 2021 story still remains the same. Like, we don't really have that big shift or that big umbrella of love. I think that a lot of it is not going to come to any kind of accomplishment or fruition, you know, how many people thought. There are not many people that know really what to do or how to dig into the next state of self. And also there's not many practitioners, there's not many like energies that really understand how to now mold or meld with this new coming tide. And I also believe that most of us are really perhaps not connected enough and not cultured enough to be able to cultivate certain grounds. So in a way, although there is a future and some people see it bright, it feels to me that there is not enough skill or essence in order to really manifest on the correct level through space and time at the moment as it stands, with anything, with industries, with connection to people, with certain scenes, clicks and services. You know, we don't really know it now. But there's a lot of confusion flying around, and we've got to be basically at the best of our game. And through particular times, yes, we will have times to shine and times to really disconnect the previous and reconnect it all, you know, and alchemize a lot of things. But At this point in time, I believe that a complete picture is not going to be fully seen until the end of itself. So it feels to me that there is like a very interesting kind of gray area, or like a mystical area that we don't really perhaps seem to know how to navigate through until it's time. So in a way, what I'm saying to you here is that there are going to be chances that there is confusion. Nobody really knows what to do. Nobody really has the expertise or the know-how yet as to how to power this machine. And nobody really knows what it's all worth. But the better parts of you, I think, are going to just basically start to stand out by themselves, and you will be pinnacled, or you will be asked to elevate, or you will be seen, or you will be given based on you. So sometimes I think it's not really about forcing things to happen. It's not really about trying to it's not really about trying to understand how things are. It's not really about making any kind of work for yourself. And I don't think it's about like learning to swim in this new state of conditions on this planet straight away. It's more just about knowing that you know nothing and allowing other people to also know very little. But then when there's this natural moment of truth and you are needed for your natural self and your natural talent or your natural way in the world is fully, compatible with the situation, I think is going to just get naturally chosen by all of it. So don't be afraid if the group follows you, if somebody really wants you to perform, somebody really wants to ask for your advice, if somebody suddenly decides you are the guru of the moment, because you are, simply because the moment chose you. So don't worry, like sometimes like it's grey murky waters during this particular time, but they're going to be dissolved and resolved, and much of this is going to start to become very, very pure and obvious later on in time. There's just at this moment, at this point, by 2022, I think you will start to see everything exactly for what it is. But at the moment, like as we're going through this ox year, as golden as it is kind of a little bit of a mystery. It's kind of a bit of a weird wave of mystery. It's a mystical time that we might not know how to navigate through until it ends and we see all the gems and all the stories as to what they've come to be. So all the worth, all the lessons, all the values, all the big things are going to become very obvious to us come the blunt Tiger year 2022. When we are in Tiger year, we're going to really fully understand what it was all worth. But the thing here basically is to let go of all controls. It's a huge ego building year. That's why you have Pluto ruling you. You also have Mars ruling you. You have a lot of it. So a very big chance that Scorpion people have a lot of ego and are born with quite a big mind, and that's okay. But I'm just kind of feeling this out for you, and I'm believing that more or less as this next year will come, okay, 2021, you've got to basically believe that it's out of mystery will surface you. Out of nothing, out of no way, out of know-how, out of weirdness, out of dubiousness, out of oddness, out of just grayness, grey matter. It's not going to take that long. Life is going to naturally start to wave you around like a flag, like it's going to put you on that pedestal again. It's going to put you in the controls as the story goes. You know what I mean? It's like you happen to be a paramedic. Somebody has a heart attack on the plane. You are there. You know, that kind of thing? Or like say, for example, you got absolutely no idea why you're going to a party, and then it turns out that these people really want you to explain something to them. They are looking for certain knowledge and nobody knows how to say it except for you. So the natural architect of life comes through here, the natural guru, the natural shrink, the natural doctor, the natural psychologist. And to be honest, at this point you might think, so what's the worth? Yeah, sure, like I do this for a job, and then I did it on a plane. I saved a guy's life on a plane. Yeah, sure. Like what's the point? Like what's the point of all this? Like why is life putting me in these weird spotlights in the weirdest of times? And the time might be very crucial for you. So for example, you're in the you're in the plane because you're going through a heartbreak, and you're actually migrating from city to city because you can't contain your relationship anymore, and that's where you are. That's where you are. And then you happen to save some guy's life, you know, because you're a paramedic. you know, but that didn't really feel like anything. That didn't give you any feelings. But that's kind of like how ironic and mystical and mysterious this year, I believe, could be for you. It's just like you don't see it, you don't want it, you don't feel it, but something or somebody is going to single you out. And it can also be for bad as well. It's like nobody gets ever mugged on the street, and I did, you know. Crazy, you know, like, well, like nothing ever bad happens in this town, and you know, my house got, you know, looted or something. Then later on, there will be a point to it. So it feels to me that all of these very crazy times, very special occasions, very unusual ways in which life just gives you all the keys and the formulas are there to evolve out of you this sequence that you don't need, and where you find power, where you are finding fame, where you're finding people, where you're finding lovers, where you're finding presence, is going to be in a totally different world. So it's very, very easy to immigrate. It's very easy to have a totally different person by your side, to have a totally different common exchange, to have a completely different story, to have a completely different system, to one day find yourself at the top of the mountain that you didn't even think you would climb. You know, this is one of those very tipsy-turvy, like sort of musical chairs, like shifting of tides kind of times. And it doesn't just happen with you, it happens to you, and it happens through you as well. So it's like the previous state of loss is gone, or the previous state of affairs is completely shifted out, and now you have a completely different mind. So a total makeover for the world, it really feels like. And why we Scorpios are chosen to do certain things sometimes, why we have very unusual careers, jobs, experiences, why Scorpio is like a born politician, and simply because you don't really know, you can't feel, you can't understand, you're fixated on something completely else, and then life gives you like forces you, gives you a completely different set of rules or magnitudes, and these are going to be just right. Now the main thing basically to remember throughout the first part of the year, as we get to March, April, is not to do like all that stuff to compensate. Forever compensating, Scorpio. Well, that person left me. Well, I'm gonna go dating, and I want to like put all these beautiful pictures of myself up online, and I want them to know what I'm doing. Like, try not to do that overcompensation. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna walk 3 miles a day. I'm going to get so super hot and fit, and oh my gosh, like all of this kind of stuff that has to leave us behind. And by April's end, you have to know, like, all of that is over. So, like, much of the previous world is just plain over. Like, it's just over. And we have to know that now. And lots of that which you scheme or feel or maybe unconsciously are planning is not going to come true. So, like, oh, okay, well, when that ex enters town, when they come to town, that I'm going to be wearing this incredible white dress, and I will have this beautiful man by my side, and you know, I will look at them with my eyes, and I'll give them the look, and then I'll remember what we've done, you know, that one time that we went to Paris together, you know, all of this stuff. Like, some of the time we don't even know like what we're saying. Like, a Scorpio might be so full of interest or full of envy sometimes, or like full of intensity, full of desire, that they don't really understand what they are going through. And the whole thing is just about knowing how to float and how to actually take your hands off the wheel for once, and not try to control the uncontrollable, and not try to define the undefinable. And then by the end of March, when March ends, April starts. With the beginning of the year, we actually have a legitimate equinox in March, and a beginning in Aries, and we just have to know it now. Okay, we can't go this way, we have to go that way. Okay, that door is closed, that party is no longer happening, or these particular types of tribes tend to lead to the same type of outcome again and again, and we've got to know it. Something you got to know. It's like, okay, you guys, that ex is never gonna call me back, or like that tribe is just never gonna help me out, or every time like I do medicine, I have a mental breakdown, or each time that I'm doing this with this person, it just leads to something. And now this may give you a very interesting level of sincerity, but also plainness. So because of the plainness, you will work things out. After March, try to keep it as simple as you can. Don't dig in. You know, like, I met this guy, now we're going to be together. Or like, I got this job, and I'm going to be the boss at this job. Try not to dig your claws into anything, because that's what makes things hurt later on in time. And sometimes things are just a study aid for you, and things are just like a very simple, very simplified relationship for you. Sometimes there's just like a lull and a barrier, and some people just come in as a kind of learning curve, you know, and you don't really need to do that like stuff anymore, you know, like I want you to know this, I have a feeling, you know, I need you to feel this, you know, all of this stuff with feeling and learning and emotions, and like all of this like intense thought and anger and frustration, anything that you might be kind of signed up for even before it happens, every time is just going to lead you someplace back, and that's going to give you the same type of experience or territory. And that's the worst feeling for a Scorpio, to be at the same state, in the same territory, in the same experience over and as a Groundhog's Day. Don't get that. Why we get that is because we don't want to move on. So please relate, and also try not to peg the future into the past. What I mean is, you know, you meet somebody and you're already like trying to pin them to a perfect relationship that you previously have had, or you'd like to imitate, or something you've seen on TV, or something that you've dreamt about. Please don't dig yourself in. Some of this is just study aids. A lot of this is just murkiness. Much of this is murky water. And also a lot of the stuff that might be happening around you may not be identified or not entirely intense or sure until that moment, and it is all intense. You know, so like expect a little bit of murk there. But by the way, that's not a bad thing. Nobody really needs you to do anything. We're all basically trying to find a new normal. We're basically trying to find a new normal. So like the main thing here is like we're trying to evolve into a state of greater normality. And the most expressive thing I feel at the moment, as we're going with Jupiter and Saturn through your 4th house, is just to find yourself in a nice, normal, neutral space only. And try to exercise as much as you can that which needs to be exercised, you know. So for example, how you wash your vegetables, how you deal with the stock market, you know, how you bring yourself up, you know, the way that you wake up, what type of music you listen to in the morning, like how you rearrange your lounge. Like much of this stuff is actually trying to help you receive better by using a simple timeline, simple space. Your house, for example, how you manage money, how you manage your whole system, whole world could be as drab maybe and unimaginative as possible, and yet again I think within it is a spark of genius and a spark of even fame and greater connection to everything. So it feels to me that you have a very, very, very nice situationality here to connect the dots in such a blissful, beautiful, and kind-hearted way that makes you much more obvious and probable for the next generation of yourself. So it feels to me that here is one of those incredible times to really fix yourself. Fix it out of you, you know, anger issues, frustration, depression, demon attacks, you know, excessive excitement, introversion, you know, strange beliefs and systems, you know, all of this can actually start to bypass you and make you into a brand new version of who you might rather like to be. But the main business here with time, the main business, it feels to me, is to also let yourself be extroverted when the time comes, when you ask to perform, when that ticket gets drawn. You might get also lucky dips, lucky lottery wins, lucky accidental finds, and also just luck. It makes sense, okay? So the main thing here is not to be so sore and broken about it, not to be so weird about it when nothing happens, because it all is gathering energy and power to allow those big flourishes and big life-changing experiences to come through. And yes, by the end of September, you know, as we're facing August, you know, whatever is going on, and it might be like a little bit both murky and bright, there might be a very, very good thing, like a very good scheme or very good theme or a very good natural way in which you might just, on some weird way, find yourself. So it's like finding yourself, understanding the main key signature of your life, recognizing that all you did was worry, understanding where you have done what you shouldn't have done, or where you did what you had to do but you actually don't need to do that in the end. any big reality checks and huge recognitions of source energy, how source energy works for you, all of that stuff can already happen now for some more intuitive people, but for a lot of us it's not going to happen till September's end, as we're going to get packaged and bent into shape by Ox. So this whole conversation that's going to happen in the summer, in the northern hemisphere, all this shaping that's going to happen, like as you are becoming more open and more just free, June, July, August is going to get snapped into a certain type of format by the end of September. So all of this frill and all of this fluff and all of this, I don't know, why is this happening to me? Like all of this stuff, is never gonna go amiss. Like no day goes amiss. Okay, you guys, really serious stuff. No hour goes without observation, without the observer watching. No minute, no second of the day goes without full source connection. You think you don't have it, you think you're on holiday, you think you can just, scratch your butt, watch some TV, it doesn't matter, throwaway days. There's no throwaway days. It's impossible. There is no day that you've ever lived that you threw away, ever. So that's the thing, it's all programmed, it's all self-creating and self-conscious, in a way, self-aware, I should say, not self-conscious. But the main thing basically is to understand that you've got a lot to throw out after September ends. And that's when we have breakups and we have divorces, especially as we're heading into your 12th house of Libra. There's going to be a lot of money spent. There's going to be, oh God, I got to sell this and I got to work out this. For many of us, and also for a lot of us, it's going to be a very welcome surprise. It's like, wow, I didn't have to do all that work. I could have just done this. Wow, pushed one button, there we go. I didn't have to try so hard. I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to burden myself with all these people. I didn't have to try to do this and try to do, oh my gosh. And you're just basically starting to maybe already now envision as to what it might be. You just basically throw it out the window and you just say, no more for me, like thanks, but that was probably not what I wanted. And now you already maybe see by 2020 end, as to what it might be that in September, October, November 2021 goes just like, oh my God, I thought so. I fully thought so. I thought that wasn't important for me. I actually really thought that person was lying to me the whole time. My gosh, I did see that coming. At the moment, as we are ending 2020, you might already understand what I mean. And then by the end of 2021, it already starts to end. And it's not even yours. It just starts to follow through on its own process. And you might be very surprised what comes out. It's like pulling a plant out of the ground and like being surprised by the size of those roots. Like, wow, I don't know. So that's where we have a lot of fights and jealousy and weird ambition. And, we can see that within ourselves. And another, it's like, wow, I never thought that person would turn that ugly. Or like, I didn't know that was going to climax into such a big deal. Or like, wow, I didn't know that's what they were gonna do, or that's what they were doing. So don't be afraid, and like, don't support anything or anybody that you are already kind of feeling dubious about. So that's the thing. Like, a lot of it has to become absolutely free and easy, as there's a mighty big chance that there's going to be a fallback or like a awakening by the end of the Oxen year, as we heading towards very kind of Martian year 2022, as we're going into this very, very strong, emotive, deep, and potentially dark, but also very, very tasteful and very sexy tiger year 2022. At the end of the Ox year, as we're beginning 2022, it's already going to start to be really obvious and positive and like optimal as to what you have maybe all your life been trying to say or trying to be. And here we go, all those little pinnacles and all those experiences that have made you shine during 2021 will start to make sense and become a more brilliant plan for you. So thank you very much, Scorpio. Enjoy, and if you need anything, there's stuff in the caption section below. Bye.